Hello, my name's Shona and welcome to FosterPod, Lincolnshire Fostering Services fostering podcast, where we aim to share stories from local foster carers, care leavers and even share some helpful tips along the way. Today I'm joined by Michelle.
Hello.
Hello. How long have you been a foster carer for?
Well, my husband and I, we've been fostering for 5 years now.
And what types of fostering do you do?
Well, we do respites, a short break fostering. We got approved just as the world went COVID crazy, so we ended up with a baby on task centred for the first 6 months. But we do the respite and the short break now, which usually means holidays and weekends. So we get to do all the nice kind of fun things with the children, because we're not saying go to bed early, you've got school in the morning. So it's they got all the fun stuff.
Let's start from the beginning. What made you interested in becoming a foster carer?
Well, it sounds a little bit cheesy, but it was all about wanting to be able to give something back. We had the time and we had the space to do that. We looked into it initially when I was still in the military, and we started the process. But then I got deployed, and everything had to be finished within a certain time scale, so we put it on the back burner. And then once the lad was through his sort of GCSEs and the schooling things, we kind of sort of went, you know what, we're in a position to be able to go through this again, and we did it. We started off with babies, and having lots of baby cuddles and everything else like that, and it was lovely, and we really, really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. But after sort of spending lots of time sat on the floor and not sitting on your own sofa and a lack of sleep and things, we sort of realised that for babies, once they're happy and they're settled and their care and their needs had been met, that they, baby was happy and quite content, and didn't really make a lot of difference to baby where they were in their surroundings and the other things that were going on. And we felt that maybe doing the older ones, that we could do more with them, because we're doing the respite and short breaks means we have the children when we have the time to give to them, so we can go out and go to places, we can do activities, we can do baking, we can have film nights, we can do crafts and all those kind of things, and actually make a little bit more of a difference to them and being a little bit more involved in their lives. So that's why we changed to the older ones, and it seems to be working quite well. The children might have a different version, but they keep coming back, so we take that as a good sign.
Absolutely. And did you always know that you wanted to do short breaks, respite, or did you sort of explore other types of fostering, or was it always going to be?
I think when we looked at it initially, it would start with the respite short breaks with a view to maybe changing as things developed. But as we're got that little bit older, it was one of those, actually this works the best for us because the children get 100% of us when we have them. We can give the best of us to them, and that's why it works, I think, really, really, really well. Become that extended, an extra set of auntie and uncle that they can go to, and they can do other things with, and they just have another place for them to go to and do other things, and other people in their lives that they can share, the swimming certificate, or the passing 100, got all the questions right on a spelling test, and just little things like that. And we like to do the regular basis, the fostering. So usually they're coming to us on a monthly basis. So what foods they're like, they know you, they know the setup, they walk through the door, they kick the shoes off. It's they're wanting the same things for dinner, or they're asking to do the same things, or we've already got the teddy, or we know the film, or we know the cartoon, or whatever it is that they're into. We already know that, and they already know it, and we know them, and they know us. They don't have to explain anything again. They know where the bathroom is, and they know where all those kind of things are, and their spaces and things like that. And that seems to work really well, and works really well for us. And it means we're still here doing it 5 years in, and still enjoying it. So.
And you offer short breaks for children that are in residentials, don't you?
Yes, we've just started doing that. it was something that we sort of learnt about really through doing one of the family finds events, that there were that maybe some, the children in the residential homes maybe didn't have that extended network of places that they, where they could go. And so we've just started that, and it seems to be working really well. The child that we're working at the moment seems to enjoy it, and again they've come back and they've wanted to come back. So, and they've asked for dates for the next holidays that are coming up. So again, taking all that as a good sign, and that feels, gives you that a little bit more of that warm fuzzy feeling of that you're doing something else to help, a child that may not have another outlet of somewhere else to go, and that auntie and uncle or grandparents or family friends that they go and stay with, and because it's not necessarily on a school night and it's the weekend, we can stay up a bit later and we can have sweets and we can have pizza nights and we can have lazier mornings and do the nicer stuff, and they get another home environment to be in and somewhere else to go. So yeah, early signs of it seems to be working really well, and I think it's going to be good for everybody. It's going to be
it's that family dynamic, isn't it? It's the wider family dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of speak to them about, what they want to do and go to places and do activities, whether that's cinema and everything else. But actually what they want to do is they just want to be at home. They want to go and do the grocery shop. They want to cook and bake and go in the garden. And, we've got an allotment as well, which, that seems to have worked really well. And the faces of some of them when they're, pulling carrots and, the strawberries and the raspberries and things like that never ever make it home because they're all scoffed as they're being harvested and things, which is brilliant. But that's just, normal everyday home environment life that not all of them have got access to. And I think that's what we seem to enjoy, and we can give that. So
during the application process, how did you find the training that was on offer?
There was a lot of the training available. I was, we were quite surprised of how much training was out there and the choice and the sort of the broad spectrum of things that it covered. Obviously, when you're first doing the application process and you're starting, it's a bit of a taster of everything else that's available and sort of a signpost to other information and things that are out there. But it's all good starting points. One of the things for me, because I've got I'm a bit weird. I like tax and numbers, and got a bit of a financial background. I'm a qualified licensed accountant. And one of the things that sort of stuck out for me is that in the handbook, there was a very small paragraph on sort of tax and finance. And over the years, that's been expanded. The foster care champions had, done a lot of work to add and put some more information in that. But that was something that I felt was lacking, and as a service and now being part of that fostering service, that we could do more to make sure foster carers were aware of what their responsibilities were, what they needed to do, and equally how they needed to do it and point them in the right direction. So that was why I ended up sort of putting together some tax workshops and training and things to just be able to for foster carers to understand their responsibilities and what they need to do.
So getting into the tax side of it, I will ask you a very basic question.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
As a foster carer, are you employed?
No. All Lincolnshire County Council foster carers, they are not employed by Lincolnshire County Council. They're not an employee. They are, as far as HMRC is concerned, for tax purposes, they are self-employed, which is why you need to be telling HMRC that you are a foster carer. So no, they're not employed.
And what does being self-employed entail? What does that mean for a foster carer? What do they have to do? Obviously, you say you need to tell HMRC. What other areas do they need to focus on?
They need to, by telling HMRC, is you registering with HMRC to say I'm self-employed. There's always a lot of adverts on the telly from HMRC and the government around sort of the tax year time saying you need to tell us. and you need to complete a self-assessment tax return, which you need to do after the end of every tax year. That all sounds incredibly scary if it's a whole new world for you. Things like tax return and tax and income tax and all these things can be incredibly daunting. I am an accountant and I'm qualified, and yes, you can pay somebody like me to help you and do all these things. But as you'll hopefully see if people sign up to the workshops and do the training or look at the website, it is incredibly straightforward for your fostering side of it, as you're fostering self-employment, to do it yourselves. You really don't need to pay anybody, a professional, to do it. If you've got incredibly complicated circumstances and you've flogged off the Van Gogh you found in the loft, or you've got a yacht that you rent out and things like that, then maybe you do need professional help to help you sort it. But if you are just a foster carer and that is your role, or you're employed somewhere else and you do the fostering, the fostering aspect is incredibly simple and straightforward, and you really don't need to be paying somebody to do that for you. You can do that yourself. Promise, it's quite straightforward.
A term that foster carers will hear a lot when they're going through their tax return is qualifying care relief. Can you tell us what that means, please?
Yes, so qualifying care relief, it is a government, so HMRC tax scheme, and this is where you'll hear lots of the tax-free elements being mentioned. And so the allowances and everything that you receive for your fostering, it's not a salary, but you need to tell a taxman that you've got that. But you can use the system, what's called this scheme that you can use, is the qualifying care relief scheme. And this tax scheme means that the chances are 99.99999% of cases is that the money that you receive will be offset by what you're allowed to receive through the qualifying care relief tax scheme. So it would be tax-free. So although you're doing a tax return, all you'll be doing is putting a big fat zero on your tax return under your fostering business income. It'll say taxable profit, you put 0. You wouldn't need to do anything else. But you just need to do a sort of calculation to work out, to prove that it is a big fat 0, which if you do the workshops or you go to the HMRC websites and YouTube videos, then they'll all point you in that direction. They can show you sort of step by step how to do that.
So you have alluded to you providing a workshop, which you do for the service. Can you tell us what you cover in your tax workshop for foster carers in Lincolnshire?
Yeah, so talk about basically what your responsibilities are as a foster carer in terms of tax and HMRC. Talk about how to get registered and what you need to do to get registered and get yourself set up as telling HMRC that you're a self-employed foster carer, but also talk in detail about the qualifying care relief tax scheme with some examples in a fair bit of detail that sort of help you work out that calculation. So from whether you are a single carer with a child that you have full-time, or whether you do respite short break and you might have 30, 40, 50 children over a tax year. But it sort of shows you how to work that out and actually how straightforward that is. We also cover a little bit about national insurance contributions, because obviously they're different when you are self-employed. They're not automatically paid. Just mention those, but not in any heavy detail, but just to give you an overview and get you started.
And you also you do answer questions as well. It's not just a straightforward presentation. You do answer questions.
Yeah, we do answer questions that go through. Obviously keep it generic, because it's not about getting into individuals' tax circumstances. Because as fostering service, they can't advise individuals about what they need to do on the tax front. That is something that you need to work out yourselves and decide. But we'll give you the information in the generic sense, answer those questions, but point you in the right direction, so you can make those decisions as a household for whatever it is that works best for you and your house. Because that could be different from another carer, quite easily. You might be having the same number of children, same ages of children, but it's an individual thing.
How does a foster carer need to let HMRC know that they are a foster carer?
Okay, you can technically do it on paper if you're that kind of person, but you've got to fill out the form online, and then you have to print it off, and you have to send it, and you have to put it in the post, and it takes quite a while. And obviously postage is quite expensive now. The easiest way to do it is to do it online through the government website or the app on your phone or your tablet, whatever it is you use. Starts with 2 very simple questions. Why did you need to do one? Because you're self-employed, it's foster carer. Did you do one last year? No. And then you're straight in and you just follow the process. You just need a couple of forms of ID, but it all tells you what you need to do. And it is quite straightforward in getting registered and starting off that process.
And at what point during a foster carer's journey, so is it during the application or once they're approved, that they have to let HMRC know?
I know it's all based on your approval date. So the date you're approved by the fostering panel. So that's your formal approval date. So if you are approved at any point, at any date within a tax year, so a tax year runs from the 6th of April one year until the 5th of April the next year. So if you are approved by panel at any point in that year, you need to tell HMRC, you register with them by the 5th of October of the year after the end of your tax year. But as soon as the tax year is over, get your figure, do your calculation, get rid of it, get it off your list, have a really relaxed and enjoyable summer.